Whenever we plant a tree in our landscape, we want it to set root and grow into a nice, healthy, majestic specimen. Most of us are committed to doing everything we can to ensure that our young trees succeed. Well, a few things that we can do to help make sure our young trees get established are to select the appropriate tree for the appropriate site. Also, planting the tree in the correct manner is very important. We've shown you several times on our program how to correctly plant a tree. We talk about digging a hole for that root ball about 3 to 4 times the size of the root ball of the plant, making it in sort of a saucer shape, and then setting the tree in the hole, not planting it too deep or too shallowly, and then refilling with all that loosened soil and not adding any amendments like fertilizer or organic matter. And then also mulching the tree is very important. Watering our new trees is very important to their establishment as well. A good general rule to follow is to water a young tree at least once a week the first year, and then at least once a month the next 2 years. Also, one thing that we've done here to kind of help protect this young tree is to put some sort of barrier around it. This is just a wire cage that will keep the deer from feeding on this tree, and also keep the deer from rubbing the trunk in the fall. Also, if you're having problems with rabbits, you could come by and put some chicken wire on this wire frame as well. Now, one other thing that the barrier does is to help protect the tree from human damage. I've seen a lot of trees that really suffer some pretty bad damage from being nicked by lawnmowers just running into them. Also, whenever we weed eat around our young trees, those weed eaters can really eat up the tree as well. The weed eater can scrape away the bark at the base of a tree and cause an injury that will cause the tree to suffer pretty much its entire life. So having a barrier around your tree is really a good idea. Now, one other thing that we can do to help make sure our young trees grow into sturdy giants is to train them while they're still small. That means come in and do any necessary corrective pruning while they're still young and impressionable. One of the main things we need to watch for in our young trees is the development of codominant stems, or a double leader. Now, some species of trees, like saucer magnolias and our river birches, like we've got right here, grow very well as multi-stem specimens or multi-trunked trees. Just the genetics of the tree and the plant's branching habit enable it to grow these several trunks here without having any problems that would cause the tree to be weakened. But for most species of tree, the plant will grow best and be the strongest if it is allowed to develop just one dominant stem or one central leader. Now, this large hackberry here at our gardens was allowed to develop a double leader back when it was younger. You can see where the 2 main branches kind of split up there. And as these branches got larger, they started getting bigger in diameter, and you can see what's happened. They didn't have room to develop, so basically they're starting to push each other apart. And you can see this really large crack that's developed because they don't have any other place to grow. So we sort of have a dangerous situation on our hands here. So we'll have to come in and either cut away one of these leaders, or what we will probably do is come in and do some cabling and bracing so we can keep all this canopy in our garden a little bit longer. Now, this could have all been prevented really easily if one of these would have been pruned away back when the tree was a lot smaller. To show you what we mean about pruning out a codominant stem or double leader in a young tree, we've got the perfect example here in our studio garden with this little ginkgo. Now, I planted this ginkgo tree from a 3-gallon size container about 7 years ago when I was studio garden manager. We planted it to replace this large loblolly pine that has started to decline. Well, we got to looking at our ginkgo here a while back, and we noticed that, just like we've been talking about, here at the top we got the development of 2 leaders. I guess it was about 2 or 3 years ago, the top of the tree, and you can still see the little stem here, broke out. I don't know if a squirrel came in and chewed on that, or if maybe a limb from the pine fell and broke that out. But just like we've been talking about, we got the development of a double leader right here. Now, just like with the hackberry, as these start growing and they get larger in diameter, you can see that there's not going to be much room there, and pretty soon they're going to start growing into each other. All this bark on the inside of both branches will be included or grown in between the 2 trees, and as they get larger, they'll probably, like the hackberry, start to push each other apart. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take my loppers, come in here and remove this one on this side. So just make a nice, clean, close cut to eliminate one of those leaders. Now you can also see that we've got a branch here that's pretty good size and may later in the future compete with our central leader. And it needs to go, but rather than cut it off at the base, I'm just going to head it back some. Just take it off right here, just so it doesn't steal any dominance from our main leader here. Now, I'm not taking it off at the base down here because I don't want to create too large of a wound here in one spot on the tree. Now, in about a year or 2 after this wound has sealed over, we'll come back and we'll cut this one off at the same point. And that will give us this main dominant trunk and a central leader to our little ginkgo. Now, you can do this light pruning pretty much any time of the year, and by getting to this while it's still young, it is going to be a lot easier to manage. A larger limb is definitely going to take a lot more work to do, and also it creates a lot smaller wound that will seal over a lot quicker. And it's going to be a lot better off for the tree, and it's going to be a much safer, much sturdier tree. So be sure and check out all the trees on your property. Make sure that you're not getting into any of those problems and developing a double leader in any of your trees.